2012, he signs a new contract extension. As soon as he signed that contract, he runs out and is at practice yelling at the defensive coordinators and the defensive players talking about, "Don't touch me, I'm the franchise." And in 2017, he signs another contract. He's on the sideline throwing coolers and yelling at Ben Roethlisberger. And in 2018, because he wasn't getting the ball, he's yelling at Ben Roethlisberger on the sideline and then skips practice for the final game of the season. I mean, I just think it's who he is.
So as far as we getting into Antonio Brown, man. So this man has done a lot over the past 3-4 years, D-Lo now? 2018,
4 years.
2019?
4 years, yep.
And you already know how I feel about Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the man, ever since that Vontaze Burfict hit back in 2018, I think he had CTE.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, which for those who don't know, it's a brain, I want to call it a disease that can happen throughout a football player's years with all the contact to the head. Of course, we have helmets on. I mean, D-Lo with ex-football players. Of course, we have helmets on, and I've suffered some concussions in my career. But the more and more impact that goes to your head and to your brain, you can develop CTE and get this catch disease, and it makes you forget things. It makes you erratic sometimes. It has a lot of different side effects to it. And I believe that he has CTE, but I think D-Lo has a different take. So what you think?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a person that we wanted to talk about for quite some time. Just other things have come up that surprisingly have overshadowed him in the given weeks that we've been surprisingly, right? That we've been doing this podcast have overshadowed him. So Sticks is alluding to my thoughts on Antonio Brown, and I mean, I just think it's who he is, honestly. We talk about the last couple of things. Me and you talk about Antonio Brown again because we wanted to talk about him so many times, but we've talked about him multiple times away from the mic, not actually on the mic.
Facts.
And I'm not sure how to take his antics. A lot of people, as you mentioned, they contribute his antics to the hit that he had in the playoffs against the Bengals with Vontaze Burfict. But I partially, like I said, think it is who he is. The reason I say that is because I think we have to be careful with labeling everybody that doesn't go with the social norms or whatever the case may be as having a mental illness or crazy, because sometimes it's just who that person is. And the reason I say that is because it seems like everything that he's done on the field prior to that hit, and his talent have kind of overshadowed the small little things that he has done to get in trouble. And again, it's been more so on the field rather than away from the field. Since 2018, I believe all of his troubles, for the most part, other than him running out in New York when he didn't want to play anymore, taking the shirt off, was on the field. But everything else was off the field troubles. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So before the hit in 2015, he came into the league in 2010.
Right.
2012, he signs a new contract extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
It was been rumored, or it has been said, that as soon as he signed that contract with the Steelers, and this is not anything major, but in a grand scheme of things, it could be the building block to who he has become now. As soon as he signed that contract, he runs out and is at practice yelling at the defensive coordinators and the defensive players talking about, "Don't touch me, I'm the franchise." Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Ben Roethlisberger is on the roster.
Ben Roethlisberger is in the franchise.
Okay.
The organization. 2014, what is known as the infamous kick. He's returning a punt and straight karate kicks the punter in the face on a kick return.
Thanks.
Okay. 2016. Again, this is nothing like crazy. We celebrate and think that players should have the ability to celebrate and express more emotions when they score touchdowns, but he gets fined
Right.
for twerking in the end zone,
Facts.
right?
Right. Remember that.
And in 2017, he signs another contract
Mhm.
extension, and he's on the sideline throwing coolers and yelling at Ben Roethlisberger for no, I'm sorry, yelling at coaches, not Ben Roethlisberger.
Mhm.
And in 2018, because he wasn't getting the ball or something happened as far as an incompletion or whatnot,
Mhm.
he's yelling at Ben Roethlisberger on the sideline, and then skips practice for the final game of the season,
Mhm. Mhm.
and subsequently was suspended and not able to play. So to me, while these are minor infractions for Antonio Brown, it's a telltale sign of the. We talked about this a couple weeks ago with some of the celebrity endorsements and whatnot, but
Mhm.
the more money he got, it just revealed more of who he really was. He could be his true self. Because when you're
Okay.
in, and I know I'm going on a
No,
little
you
long
good.
right now, but
Do your thing.
because when you're in the league, because he was a 6th round pick, so
Right.
not a guarantee to make the roster in any way, shape, or form. But when you first get there, especially as a 6th round pick, you're just trying to be as humble and as out the way as possible. So you make sure that, all of your on the field work, your hard work, and your performance is evaluated rather than your off the field
Character. Right.
character, right? And
Right.
then when you get that money, you can start to be a little bit more of who you are. And I just
Mhm.
think that's who he is. 'Cause, I mean, I'm not saying like the hit doesn't have anything to do with some of the actions that he's has done here lately, but I just think that's just who Antonio Brown
Exhibits his
is.
personality. I mean, I can dig that, and it's one of those things where I'm glad you. That's why I said I keep always say every week. I'm happy we had these conversations because you put a different perspective in my mind as to those all of the things that you except for
The
except for
twerking.
no, all of the things except for the sideline situation where he throwing coolers and arguing with coaches to him arguing with Ben Roethlisberger on the sideline and in practice. All of those things have all of the things that you named happened before the hit,
Hmm.
which is so. I'm glad to put you in perspective. And don't get me wrong, Antonio Brown when he was with the Steelers was an animal.
Right.
Year over year, 100 plus catches, 13, 14 plus 13, 1,400 yards every single season for like what I would say 6, 7 years in a row.
Right. Yep. Yep.
And he
He
was
says,
amazing.
yeah, he set the Steelers record for a lot of
Man,
receiving stats, and the Steelers have
100%.
had some great receivers in their
Some great
organization.
ones. Some great ones. So he was I'm not gonna go off to say he was a franchise because that's definitely since his time in Pittsburgh has been Ben Roethlisberger. But
Hmm.
he was most of Ben Roethlisberger's success. He was the security blanket for Ben Roethlisberger for
Right.
6, 7 years in a row. So
Right.
so with you saying that, I can kind of bring my perspective back a little bit, but I still think my boy need to get evaluated because even with that, right? So he was released by the Steelers and he was benched and released by the Steelers in 2018, around this time, actually, 2018 in December.
Hmm.
But then they traded him to the Raiders,
Right.
but then was found guilty of reckless driving. And he was supposed to go to the Bills after that, but then the Raiders still picked him back up. And after that, I mean, he was at that time, he was the highest paid NFL receiver. So this can kind of go back to what the line was saying, more money, more problems.
Hmm.
But then he makes the bad decision of going to a cryotherapy appointment and doesn't put any shoes on in the cryotherapy is like they freeze your body and it's supposed to reset your muscles and things like that. But he
Hmm.
doesn't put any shoes on his feet or any protection on his feet, and he burns his feet from the ice from the
Right.
from the from the from the cryotherapy machine. So that happens, and then he rants about not having the correct helmet
Hmm.
for the Raiders, and
Yeah,
then
so that was around the
like,
time. That was around the time. And sorry to cut you off,
go
but
ahead.
that was around the time when the NFL was making changes as far as
Mhm.
the equipment that they thought was safe for their players, and I mean that Tom Brady was having an issue with that as well. But
Right.
of all people, this that should and it because it goes against your argument, sadly to say, but
Mhm.
of all people that would be more imp to change their equipment, you would think it would be Antonio Brown, especially after the horrific hit
After
that he
that hit.
took from
Mhm.
Vontez Burfict.
Exactly. But I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe
It's a
maybe he
comfortability thing too,
it was
though.
it definitely is because us playing football,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Whenever I went down to Miami, they tried to give me one of those brand new helmets. I was like, nah, just give me a shut. I'm comfortable. I like those the 2 bar joint. Let me get that. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Just let me get that. But and they gave me what I wanted. So I'm like, cool. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't gonna make a fuss about it if the GM was gonna come say, nah, all the receivers gotta wear this. I'm like, all right. You know what I'm
right,
saying? You talking about paying me, so let me put this ugly ass helmet on. But
exactly.
but anyway, but with him being the highest paid receiver at the time, he can kind of make those kind of demands, especially with the performance that he's had prior to him getting to the Raiders.
Hmm.
But even then, he got into it with the owner and called the man a cracker.
No, no, not the owner. It was the general manager, Mike
The general
Mayock.
manager, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
general manager.
Mike
He
Mayock.
called Mike Mayock a cracker and told him he still needs to give him that 30 million that he owe him.
Yeah.
So they had to pay him because it was guaranteed money. But as soon as they got that check, he was out of there. They shipped him off to New England.
No, they didn't pay him.
They didn't pay him.
Nah, that's why they got. That's why they cut his ass.
Oh, that's why they cut him. And you right? They released him. They
Yeah,
released him, and then he signed with the Patriots. So
yeah.
that and this kind of gets into a little bit of the most recent troubles that he's had because that was the moment that he reunited that he came across Tom Brady,
Mm.
who Tom Brady has been one of the most influential people since that time in his career.
Yeah, he's been in his
Tom
corner
Brady,
for real.
he's been like his wingman 100% and supported AB 100% ever since he got to New England in 2019.
Hmm.
And Antonio Brown literally over the past couple of years has done nothing but shit on Tom Brady. To me,
Hmm.
now they've done well on the field. They won a championship together a couple of years back, and but Tom Brady has done nothing but be in his corner 100%. And
Let him
yeah,
stay at his house.
let him stay at his house with his wife there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And now this
And his
man going out
kids.
and his kids. Now this man going out and putting stuff on social media about Giselle, and this is like, bruh, like what you got going on, my boy?
Yeah. What energy you on, my guy?
What energy you on?
Yeah. I mean,
But on my fault, go ahead.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
No, but what I was about to say is the reason why we're talking about AB now is because he was just in the news for a domestic violence situation. I don't know if we mentioned that at the beginning of the segment,
No,
but
we did. We did.
he has a domestic violence situation now where he was trying to issue um a verbal what's the word I'm looking for?
Threat.
Eviction of this young
Oh,
lady that was
eviction.
staying
Yeah,
at his
yeah.
crib, and they
Not,
got
not no.
into it.
Don't say young lady. The mother of his kids.
Oh, his baby mom. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
got you.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
trying to issue a verbal eviction from his home that he owns, that she stays at with his kids, and they got into they got into an altercation and an argument, and apparently he threw a shoe at her and hit her in the ponytail, and she called the police on him,
Yeah.
and now there's an arrest warrant out for him in Tampa. So that's what's going on with him now. But everything that we're talking about now kind of leads up to a lot of the things that he's been doing. But go ahead, what was your point you was about to make?
No, I was just gonna say that exactly what you said as far as how we got to discussing Antonio Brown today and the events that have led up to that point. So yes, he has received a arrest warrant, which I don't think he has yet to be arrested or
He
taken
hasn't.
into custody.
Yeah.
And then before that, he's had in a back and well, I wouldn't say a back and forth. He's just been going at Tom Brady for whatever reason we don't know. Is and not happy with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians, he has gotten into in a situation where was he in Dubai and he was exposing himself. Was he in Dubai?
Mhm.
He was
He
somewhere.
was in
He was
Dubai
somewhere,
and he was at a
and
hotel exposing
yeah,
himself in the pool.
exposing himself in the pool. Before that, he also got into he was still going at Tom Brady. Then
Mhm.
last year is when he had the ordeal that he ran off the field because he said his ankle was hurting, but he was playing earlier in the game, and Bruce Arian wanted him to go back in, and he
Mhm.
didn't want to go back in. So Bruce Arian basically cussed him out on the sideline, and that's when he ran off the field, took his pads off his shirt, and is amping up the crowd.
Threw everything into the
Yeah, threw
did
everything
he
to
throw
that
it in the
crowd.
crowd? Yeah. and
Yeah,
just amping the crowd up and acting like because he really think he the franchise, but not
yeah,
knowing you just played with two quarterbacks that's probably two of the best all time,
right.
and you acting like you was the center of attention. But the crazy thing is that with that situation that we just talked about, the medical staff cleared him to play the
Cleared
week
him.
of, during the week. They cleared him to play. He practiced Thursday and Friday,
Hmm.
walked through on Saturday, and he was in the game the first half, running routes, looking good.
Yeah,
But that just goes to that situation where he just, to me, he just didn't feel like playing no more.
right. Well, I mean, because we talked about concussions in episode 5 and with Tua, and we also said the medical staff could have done a better
Mhm.
job with protecting Tua and not allowing him to go back into the
100%.
game the first time he had a concussion. So
Mhm.
I don't want to put it all on AB. The medical staff definitely could have probably handled that situation better, and I don't want to take away from the part. No, I'm not saying that they definitely could have. I'm just saying you don't want to 100% say the medical staff was absolutely right in clearing him
True,
to
that's true.
play,
I got you.
because
I feel you. I
it's
feel you.
still at the end of the day they're a part of the franchise,
Mhm.
um, that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and
Right.
it's all about getting the best product on the field. So
100%.
Antonio Brown is one of the best players on the team. We need to
Mhm.
make sure that he's good to go. And play, whether that's giving him a shot, whether that's whatever the case may be. Now we don't want to put damaged goods on the field,
Right.
and further hurt him. But if he can play at 85%, he's better than the majority of the NFL.
Agreed.
Um, but long
Agreed.
story, getting back to the concussion, uh, I don't want to say, um, I don't want to discredit and diminish that hit, because
Mhm.
you know you said he has CTE. We
I
truly
believe he
won't.
does.
Yeah, we won't know. And CTE stands for chronic traumatic uh,
Encephalopathy.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we won't truly know if he does have that until he goes and gets a brain scan,
Mhm.
um, a scan of his brain. And I don't think you can actually. Can you do that while you're
So,
alive?
from about to say, from what I know is you can get treated for symptoms, and they can give you like a post, kind of like a diagnosis,
Hmm.
but you really won't know if somebody has CTE until they pass away, and they can actually observe the brain to actually analyze it. So you can't
Exactly.
CTE can't be CT. Unfortunately, CTE can't be diagnosed until after the person has passed away.
Exactly. So we won't truly know if he has that issue or not until the demise of Antonio Brown.
Hmm.
We have seen him go through what seems to be a change after that hit for sure. Like his off the
Yeah,
field antics have become more aggressive, and he's been
erratic.
more erratic off the field, and that's signs of those individuals that do have CTE. But
Hmm.
I don't know, man. I just think that's just who
Yeah.
Antonio Brown is. Hope I'm wrong, and maybe he does have CTE. But viewing off where he came from,
Hmm.
viewing some of the actions that I read about before the hit, it was more on the field. And when you're a good talent, they'll
Hmm.
try to like cover that up, and they'll deal with it because it's on the field. You're not really hurting the
Hmm.
image of the NFL away from the field, like we've seen for the last decade with some of the incidents with women and um, you know different violent offenses, traffic stops, or not even traffic stops, but traffic accidents, fatal traffic accidents at that. So
Hmm.
he wasn't really doing any of that before the hit.
Hmm.
Then after the hit, it just became, like you said, erratic.
Yeah.
So I don't want to discredit that, but I really just feel like it's who Antonio Brown is.
Yeah, I mean, and I can agree with that. Like I said, just based off the conversation that we have now, like I always agree. I tend to have a different perspective once we had these conversations, but it's like he was just some of the dumbest stuff that you can do, like supplying a fake vaccination card. Wow, bro,
Hmm.
if you know what I'm saying, if they having you get a vaccination to play, which if you can protest if you want to, just like DeAndre Hopkins did, he ain't want to get it, so he didn't play. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So if you didn't want to get the vaccine, cool, that's your prerogative. But
But
don't
didn't Aaron Rodgers do that too?
100%. But he played though, didn't he?
Yeah, but
But no, but see,
I'm
he kept, but he made it to where he was. Aaron Rodgers ain't the topic of this conversation,
yeah,
but
yeah,
he
yeah,
made it
yeah,
to
yeah.
where he was saying that he did some other stuff. Like he got some other type of herbal or natural kind of
Yeah.
vaccination, blah blah blah, and he was showed proof of it apparently.
Right.
But even with that, but don't supply a fake one, and
Hmm.
then don't the person who supplies you the fake one, don't throw him under the bus and have him tell on you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like, you just got to be smarter. Like, you making too much money to. It's kind of like the Josh Gordon situation. You making too much money to fuck it up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You keep doing dumb shit after dumb shit after dumb shit, and you're one of the highest paid receivers in the league, and you are risking that income because you want to be because of your erratic emotions and your actions, bro. Like, just be smarter. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Be smarter. I
Yeah.
mean, me personally, like I said, my final wisdom on Antonio Brown is get checked out
Hmm.
and seek some kind of professional help, because a lot of the things that he does and he says is like, just, to me, it don't make no sense,
Hmm.
especially with the whole thing with Tom Brady. Did you see the text message that they shared?
No, I did not see that.
Basically, because it was a long message from Tom Brady, and AB actually posted on social media, which I don't know why, but it was over a year ago that he texted him.
Hmm.
But Tom Brady texted him basically saying, "Hey man, like I love you to death, but your actions and the things that you're doing, you're going down a dark path,
Oh, I
and
think I
I'm
did see
worried
that
about
actually.
you."
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So that's basically so. Like, it's like people around him are starting to see, and the goat can see it. I know other people can see it.
Hmm.
So it's like people around him are starting to see that he's taking himself down a dark path, and I feel like he needs to like seek some help, bro.
Yeah. And so I feel like my final thoughts on this. I feel like he is one of those individuals that loves attention,
100%.
and
I agree with that.
and with him gaining more money has gained him more notoriety, but it's not enough for him. And so he does certain things. I'm not talking about like his recent events where he has tried to verbally evict his baby mom
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I'm talking about stuff he does on social media. Um, that type of stuff. I think the
Yeah.
attention that he's gotten for being Antonio Brown, the great football player, isn't enough for
Mhm.
him. He's trying to venture into other avenues, which is fine,
Yeah,
but it's
100%.
all about the your tact and how you do things. And his tact isn't that great. And
Ain't that great
so
at all.
he's running into these situations where if he means good by it, it's coming off as him being arrogant, and the situation is malice. And so
Mhm.
because of that, because he may be trying to be aggressive in his movements, we're saying he has suffered CTE or some type of
Yeah.
serious brain injury from the hit, because all of a sudden he seems more erratic than he has been. And
Mhm.
again, I'm just saying that's just not who he is. But I do agree with you, he probably needs to seek some assistance, like we were talking about in our first episode with Manti Teo, how he was
Mhm.
going through all that stuff, and then he seeked assistance with his
Mhm.
mental health, and he's able to deal with all the things that he has to go through,
Mhm.
or did have to go through with that catfish situation.
Same thing with John Wall, what we talked about in episode 2. He
Yeah,
went and
same thing.
seek
Exactly.
he went and seeked
Exactly.
help too. He was on the verge of self-deletion, and he was like, "Yo, I need help." And,
Right.
you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So,
And so maybe, and so if he hasn't already, he definitely needs to seek someone, a therapist that can help him cope with the issues that he's dealing with, maybe from a
mhm.
childhood or anything that's happened to him recently that he had that we don't know about. He probably
Right.
just needs to go see them and help him work that out.
But the way it looks, man, I don't think with his arrogance and his attitude, I don't think he probably think he don't need it. But yeah, that's neither
Yeah, I
here nor
mean,
there, man.
right. I
But
mean, who are
yeah,
we to tell him what he needs? But
very true,
yeah,
very true. But before we get to the next topic, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on the chat if you got any ideas about what we should talk about, or if you got any comments about the Antonio Brown situation. Make sure you put it down in the comments below, man. We would love to talk to you about it.
absolutely.
But like I said, I'm glad she cleared up this misconception, because with some of these conversations, it sounded like the women were saying, the NBA gets paid this much. Why can't we get paid this much? That it's not fair that the NBA gets paid 10 times, 12, 15 times more than what the WNBA players get. And with the percentage of revenue shared, I understand that.